let's start with how did you get involved in marketing flight schools? It is a niche within a niche, or niche within a niche, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a very specialized set that you're performing services for. So I think that's a choice that I think specialization is a wonderful thing. But there are people who would say, "Wow, are there enough flight schools, and is there enough of a market for that for you guys to be doing everything you want to do?"
I think starting off, I was, you know, I'll give you the whole spiel, I guess. So,
I'd love to hear
um,
spiel. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know,
That's what I was fishing for. You got me.
yeah, no worries. 4 or 5 years ago, I was not in this industry. I was
S-
in the factories. I was working quality assurance. I did quality assurance management for food
s-
production. I worked with some big names like Tyson Foods, ConAgra Foods, ADM, which is Archer Daniel Midland. They did flour manufacturing and also like corn oil and things like that. A lot of agriculture. So that's where I had my base of experience after graduating college. I, did that for about a decade. Climbed the ladder pretty quick, got to be a director manager level, making really good money. But the reality of it is I really dislike my job. So no offense to them, but I just didn't like working in the factory, especially the flour factory. There's a lot of mold, a lot of dust everywhere.
Mm.
I was wheezing every single day. I just knew how to get out of the industry. So for me, it's like, what can I do next? So I was kind of torn between two options, really, and it was really this is pre-COVID. It was software engineering and being an airline pilot. That was
Oh,
kind of my
wow.
two
Okay.
thought, I guess, whatever it was, and I kind of started each path concurrently. I got my private. I want to say around 2020, and I was pretty dedicated to that pipeline as far as becoming an airline pilot. I, was probably flying about 4 or 5 times a week, trying to get my private done, trying to get my instrument finished. And yeah, it was a decent journey, but I think around the time the business started, I was already a private at that time. But the other path as well was software engineering.
Yeah.
And for me, it was my father's a software engineer, so he had a really good career. He worked for Mastercard. I also had a lot of
Oh,
friends from high school who did software engineering, and this is before AI kind
wow.
of made a big thing there and kind of made all the American salaries kind of go down. But I remember like it was like 2018 or 2019. Me and my friends are at a restaurant or a bar or something like that, just hanging out, and we're talking about our daily life, and he's like, "Yeah, I just wake up at 8:45, go on a Zoom call, get paid 200K, no big deal." I was like, "Are you kidding me? It's insane."
Nice. Yeah,
It's
that's
fake,
the life.
obviously that doesn't exist anymore, so
Yeah.
maybe it's for the better. I didn't pursue software full time, but I was also learning coding. So I had already knew how to code a decent amount. I took classes when I was in high school. I coded websites when I was like a teenager, and I had a small like generalist agency where it wasn't really an agency, it was just mainly a freelancing thing where I would kind of do anyone that came to my realm. So I had restaurants, I had a gym, I had a lawn care business, I had interior designers, I had musicians even, and I'd build these WordPress websites for them. I'd just kind of make it work. I kind of got decently well at it, and I was making some side money, some side business money, and I was like, well, this is not bad. So we had these two things going, and I was like, working on the software stuff. Also, kind of, we had the generalist freelancer thing going on, and also flight school. Being a pilot was also on another channel here. I want to say around 2021, 2022 ish. I think around 2022 actually. I was at that point. I was like a director for a senior manager, but I had like 3, 4 facilities, so it's a director level position that I was doing quality management for, and I was let go. So I was laid off. It was a matter of politics, to be honest with you. The higher up you go in the corporate realm, especially director level, manager level, it's a lot of politics. So it was okay. I immediately afterwards, I had recruiters just like messaging me like, "Hey, I got a job for you. Hey, I got a job for you." I kind of took that time when I was, let go. I was like, "Hey, well, I have no job. I have a decent amount of savings. What do I really want to do in my life?" I kind of said to myself, I really want to start a business. I think it's every, employees, not every employees, but I think it's a good fraction of people that work as a W-2. They really want to control their life. They want to have their own business. I think looking back now, I don't know if I would still do it. I mean, I'd still do it, but like it's the challenges of running a business. You don't really understand it until you are in it.
Mhm.
And it just kind of romanticized this idea of like, hey, you're a business owner, you can do whatever you want. It's like that's not true. I mean, but it's romanticized when you're still an employee. So for me, I was very, I really wanted to start a business. I thought I could have the freedom in the world. I do have a lot of freedom, but yeah, I wanted to start that. So I really started pushing this freelancing gig out. Like, hey, I'm doing software. I do website design. I do all this type of stuff. Let me work with you, and I take whoever I can get. And we got like 2, 3 recurring payment clients, you'd say, like, but there was really low ticket. It's like not much. It was nothing life changing. And I was like, okay, well, I still want to do this. And so I started really studying. I think it was more like, hey, I need to improve my skills. I really need to understand how to grow this. I really need to understand how to market this. And at the time, it was mainly website development and software. And I realized as I did more studying that like people will pay a decent amount of money, a good chunk of change, not for a website, not really for a website or for a software, but they will pay a decent amount for marketing, for increasing their business, for growing their business, for getting more
Yeah.
leads in, getting more students or customers in. At that point, I was like, and then I had also read a lot of books, and one of the books I read was like, you need to find a specialty, a niche to kind of like really go into. And
Mm,
some of the
yeah.
guidance around finding a niche was like, what's your experience in? I'm like, okay, well, I have some pharmacy experience. I worked in the medical field. I did food manufacturing for a decade. Those are all B2B though. And they said for the niche thing, you really want to focus on B2C potentially. And I know that's for you,
Okay.
you were
Yeah.
more B2B, but for my training, they were like, hey, you can do this digital marketing stuff really well for B2C. I was looking at it, I'm like, where I don't really have a good niche to go in. And then one of the other questions that was on the last of the list was like, where do you spend all your time and money at? And
Oh,
for me,
good question.
it
Love
was the
that.
airport. I'm spending all this time flying around, getting my private pilot and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, let's do flight schools. Here in St. Louis, there's about I want to say 5 schools, maybe 5, 6 schools. I pitched it first to the school I did my private pilot at. Um, that didn't really go anywhere. And
Okay.
then I also
Yeah.
pitched it to a university, so I did my instrument training, did some simulator stuff at a university. He loved it. He's like, I think you're correct. This is the good marketing plan. Your website needs to get fixed. Your SEO needs to be done. Paid ads need to be finished. We need more recruits for our aviation program here in the university." And he really wanted to work with us, but then the problem was, okay, well, the university has their own marketing like department, and they're
Oh,
not good.
yeah.
They
Universities.
don't want to use outside contractors. So I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fine. Luckily, my first customer, my first client, we landed on a local person. It was where I did my discovery flight, but the way we got connected is we attended Flight School Association of North America, or FASI,
Asana.
Association
Right.
International. Back then, they were giving us attendee list. They don't do that anymore, but they were giving attendee list to all the sponsors and the guests. And I saw, hey, Ideal Aviation, which is in my backyard, is attending. So I sent them an email saying, hey, I did my discovery flight, a couple years ago with you guys. I'm going to be attending the show with you. It's worth the conversation. And next, things happen next, and then within a month or so, they were my first customer, and then just kept working at it. So I just kept doing some outbound, doing a lot of trade shows and stuff like that, following up with people. Then slowly it kind of grew to a real thing. I did end up getting a job again because I was, like I said, I was laid off and I was doing this in the middle of it, and I just needed, income to pay rent. And then, yeah, I mean, we kept growing it. Then eventually, around, I won't say client number 5, flight school number 4 or 5, it has enough revenue to pay for rent. So I said, let's go.
That's something.
Let's go
Yeah.
full time with it, and I've never looked back since. So here we are. I think we've done a really great job. I'm really proud of the team we built. I'm really proud of these flight schools we've worked with. I think the flight schools that have been in contact with Right Rudder they've seen some really great results. I've heard a lot of life changing stories. People that were ready to close shop after doing their marketing right. They were able to actually get more leads in, get more students in, and buy more planes and start scaling. So I mean, my advice to any flight school out there that's looking to grow is just be consistent and don't give up. The minute you give up and the minute you don't want to do marketing, that's when you start stagnating.
Right. That's absolutely true. And I think, one of the things that I love about this industry is that there are so many mom and pop or family businesses that, are in it because they love it. They're not here because it's easy. That's for sure. It is not the easiest industry in the world. And, So there's a lot of parallels, I think, between the way that you came up through the industry and the way that I did. I came from more of a, I guess, Fortune 50 marketing background. Of course, I was doing websites and digital marketing and things like that for Fortune 50 companies as an employee. Um, had the dream, of course, of owning my own company and everything else, and was ruined for a day job when I started flying, so I can sit here in a cubicle and do marketing for a company so that they can get more customers for their bank, or I can help aviation companies, these family-owned organizations that help people fly.
Yeah.
And whether that's a flight school or whether that's an FBO or an MRO or a software company or a component manufacturer or whatever. um, I just admire that so much more than at, just another bank or just another insurance company or, people that don't really do any good for the world as opposed to the aviation industry, which I think brings the world together, and gives people this amazing experience and turns people into something completely different, from the time they walk in the door to the time that they leave. So I was in my late 30s when I learned to fly. And I'm a lot older than you, but, the parallels are similar, in the sense that how we got into the industry and how we came to love it and how, it, really makes us happy when we can turn a business around and help them stay in business and either sell it, if that's their goal, or turn it over to the next generation in a healthy condition, or, modernize it for the changes in the world and everything else. So I love that. Let's talk a little bit about, and we've talked a little bit about the different niches within aviation and how B2C is different from B2B. Um, I know you've probably seen people do things wrong. And if we can save people the experience, and that's one of the reasons people listen to podcasts and read books and everything else, is because experience is expensive and podcasts and books are cheap. So what are
Uh,
some of the things that you've seen people do that cost them a lot of money or that maybe take them down the wrong path?
I would say like at least a year ago, people would tell me they run thousands of dollars on ads but not get any results. And then I'd be like, "Hey, what are you actually doing with these ads? What are you actually trying to, figure out?" And a lot of times they meet with a Google rep. So number one mistake, don't meet with a Google rep. So if you start an ad account with Google, you will meet they will send you after you set your campaign up, you have it optimized, everything's clean and everything's nice, or you don't do it, regardless of the fact, they will reach out to you and they'll say, please schedule a time with, Aziz Akbar from, God knows where. They'll get you on a call. They'll say, hey, here's your CPC, here's your CTRs, whatever, here's your ROI. Please spend $10,000 more for your ad. That way you can optimize your ad. That's kind of a mistake in my opinion. I mean, I think a lot of it is more on your messaging, a lot of it's on your targeting, a lot of it is on, where you're putting the allocations for, whether it's Performance Max versus, a search ad, whether it's a YouTube ad. Those people that are soliciting you, first off, they don't work for Google. That's the first mistake. They're actually contracted by Google and their sole purpose is to drive their
To
customers, which
sell
is the flight schools,
advertising.
or it's to
Mhm.
add more budget. They don't
Right.
really care if you get more students or not. They just care if people click the link. So they'll show you, they'll say, "Oh, your target is so small, you should wide it open." And the next thing you know, you have people have no interest in flight training, clicking your ad, and you're spending $10 per click for no reason. That's the reality there. And then the problem is that, because they are contracted by Google, they get the authority that, oh, this is Google, I gotta follow what they say. The reality is that they're not even Google, they're just some random contractor. So I'd say the number one mistake is listening to anyone that's represented by Google, that's trying to reach out to you, that's a contractor. If they're
Mhm.
actually legitimately, from Google, you'll know, you'll find out. The second one, I mean, Meta's okay. They don't really have anyone trying to like reach out to you, try to schedule a call anymore. I'd say the second mistake that aviation businesses have really is just not investing in marketing, or not being, or if they are, they're not consistent with it. So there's, the first case of this would be like, okay, well, we've just relied on word of mouth. We've just been doing referrals and it's been fine. But then they've also only been at $1 million for the past 5 years. So it's like,
Yeah. They
if you
stayed the
stay at $1
same.
million in revenue, unfortunately, that's your top line. Your bottom line is slowly, slowly going to creep up. And next thing you know, you're not taking anything home. Inflation's a real thing. People want raises and salaries. You're going to expand your team. You're going to do maintenance on your aircraft if you're a flight school or FBO, whatever you are. You're going to be buying more equipment. Your cost of good is going to go up. Your operating expense is going to go up. So that's the nature of a business. You can never stay the same place. Otherwise, you might be the same place, but realistically, you're actually declining. So
Exactly.
really, you need to always put an effort in your marketing and sales. If they're not, that's just it's not good. And then another one is like be consistent with it. So I've also seen aviation businesses, they'll say, I want to run a $20,000 campaign, 3 months. We'll do this big ass thing with the Google ads, with the Facebook ads. We'll market the hell out of everything, and when it's going to change the business. And I'm like, that's not true. I think
Right.
if you want to spend $10,000, go for it, and you will get a bump, but it's not going to change your business significantly. And that's what I work on is like, how do we change the business on a consistent basis? After month, long term. We're not looking at the short term stuff. We're looking at long term. How do we actually make it where a year from now you look back, hey, this is a completely different business entirely. So I'd avoid trying to get the short term gain. And I've also tried to make sure that you're consistent with your marketing and sales. And yeah, pushing the sales button too. I mean, like marketing is one aspect of it, but make sure your team is trained. Make sure they're answering the phone. Make sure they're following up. I can talk a whole hour on just sales because like majority of people that do sales, especially for flight schools, and this is where we work with, people that are doing sales for flight schools are not salespeople. They're usually a student pilot trying to get free hours. They don't
Yeah.
care if your lead has been followed up 10 times. But unfortunately, if they're not followed up 10 times, then you don't get the student. And then if you don't get the student, you don't get the revenue. If you don't get the revenue, how are you going to fix this overall for the 172 that was due like last month? you know?
Right.
So it's like, my take on it is always keep training, always keep, pushing the sales button and always continuously do marketing. Those are the two kind of, I guess, I don't want to say mistakes, but two challenges I've seen with our industry.
Yeah, ways that people lose money actually, and then marketing people get a bad name and, we all lose out. I guess people think of, this is kind of a little bit of a variation on your third point, and that is that people think of marketing as an event rather than as a system, in your
Yeah.
company, just like your accounting, just like your maintenance, just like everything else. It's an ongoing part of your business, and, if you get it running better and better and better and have continuous improvement and you control it, you have your hand on the throttle, all the time instead of, thinking of it as like, we're gonna run a Super Bowl ad and
Yeah.
then our business will be saved, and that will
Yeah.
all we need to do is just have this one fantastic event or one trade show or one whatever that's gonna turn everything around for us, and then everybody will
Yeah.
know us, we'll have as many students as we ever need.
I remember when I got my first testimonial video on my website, I
Yeah.
was telling myself, this is gonna change Right Rudder forever. Um,
Mhm.
it didn't, but it did help. It did help over time.
Yeah,
You build
and
it
it
up over time, you get more videos, more testimonials, and you reiterate on the process. I mean, like think about you said that my podcast is a decent size of our business. I would say it's probably the most, I guess, marketed just because like we get a good impact on it. But the first episodes were, like I said earlier, were horrendous. You go to our YouTube channel, you look at like 3 years ago, the first episode of our podcast or whatever it was, even our webinars, like they were just not at the same tier of quality of guests of I mean, I love all the guests that we've had on the podcast, by the way.
yeah.
I don't want to say the guests were bad. I'm just saying that like our recording and like the way we prepared pre-production,
Mm.
we didn't have scripts ready, we didn't have questions ready. We just got on camera, just started talking, and here we go. It's like, okay, let's do it. That it's definitely improved over time. And like you cannot ask, yourself if you're a business, like, hey, I'm gonna go to, level 100 if I just put money into it and get it done in a month. It's definitely a long-term play that you have to learn over time. And you could hire somebody, maybe internally or externally, that has done the reps. They've done the things that they need to do. So that way they know what to do. But you can't expect even with them within a month or 2 months for life-changing results. I think it's a 6 month to a year, that's when you really notice the changes. I was looking at my journal. So I
Mm.
journal every other
Okay.
week or month, just to, get my thoughts down. And I'm always complaining about, oh, I have so much work to do. I have all this business stuff, and I look at the problems I had a year ago. And I'm complaining about. I'm like, this is like that's nothing. You know? Like, the problems
You're
I
on a
deal with
different
are,
level now.
10x the bigger problems that I have now than I had, a year ago, but, I just think that it's amazing to see, like, just even the past year, like, I think we wanna say, doubled the business in about a year. I mean, every single year we've been doubling, so I don't know, we're reaching that point where probably it's gonna slow down and we're maybe gonna be 1.5, 1.2 now, but we've been consistently just, reiterating the process, continuous improvement, meeting with the team, meeting with our customers, making sure the experience that we have for the customers is the best possible experience they have, make sure they get the results. If they don't get the results, that's when, we need to look at our processes, look at like what marketing systems do we have in place. Is the ads being done right? Is the website not correct? Is the SEO not being added correct? Are we adding enough backlinks here? Are we doing enough, technical work? Are we doing enough front end work? Like, what are we doing? And then we start tweaking. That's the hardest part I've had doing this business, is having somebody that's not me. It could be me. It's been me in the past, but having someone that's, not me, in the driver's seat with the flight schools, with the customers, understanding like where the customer is in their business path, and then giving them a 30, 60, 90-day plan, giving them a 3 month to 6 months to a year plan. Like, hey, here you are now. Here's what we're going to do in the future. Here's what we're going to fix. And let's keep reiterating the process. Like, I've had different, we call them account managers. They'll do a great job answering the phone. They'll do a great job emailing them. They'll do a great job, just like getting this work done. But they don't have the visionary component, which is necessary, I think, in marketing, is you have to have some type of like idea of where we want to take this to. How will we implement this and how will we execute it? Is it video stuff? Is it SEO stuff? Is it the messaging we want to change? Are you launching a new program? If the school just bought a plane, are we marketing that in any way? Those are things that we have to bring up that a lot of people in that role have failed because they just say, oh, the customer said, the flight school said, hey, we bought a new plane. Okay, update the website. That's like the bare minimum. You have to think, okay,
Yeah.
press release. You think about social media posts. You have to think about, okay, how do we message? Hey, now we have 10 plus more planes now. How do we make it seem that the school is definitely, the authoritative, flight school in their area. That way people come. And then this plane they just bought is an immense asset to them. So how do we market that internally and externally as well? I mean,
Right.
that's a challenge I've had. And I think that's something that every marketing agency needs to do. It's not just a matter of, signing the contract and going. It's a matter of building the relationship, visiting the customers, going and meeting them, shaking their hand, making some videos with them, buying them, getting food with them, getting lunch, and also delivering the results, making sure that they have the students they need, they have the leads that they're getting, they have an adequate sales process. They have a CRM in place. They're actually using the CRM. That's something that's another challenge too. Is like you asked about the biggest challenges aviation business have. A lot of them don't have a CRM. They're tracking things with paper. So
Mhm.
it's like
Well, and
you know
that's
we
fine if they'll actually do it, you know? But nobody's gonna do that because they can't get to it, that it's too hard to deal with and everything else. So, I mean, I
yeah
figure the CRM that the best CRM is the one that you use, whether that's a
yes. I'm
a
not married to
whiteboard
any
or whether
CRM. I'm not
yeah.
married to any CRM whatsoever. You can use whatever you want. Just make sure you
Mhm.
use it. I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
care about. Use it, and then use
Mhm.
it, and make sure you get people enrolled. People, that's how
Right.
I care.
That's for sure. And I guess that's one of the things that I think, our businesses probably have in common is that we're collaborative. I've seen some of the work that you've done with flight schools and everything else. And the ones that do best are the ones that you collaborate with. They don't just toss things over the wall to you and say, do all of our marketing. They're willing to have you over and show you around and be part of the marketing process and, understand that it's their job to build relationships with potential customers and their communities and the whole 9 yards. So I think you do a really nice job of collaborating and becoming a part of that, and I'd love to see more of that in our industry because I think a lot of people feel like, they just wanna fly, that's why they're here, that's why they love this industry, and they want somebody else to do all that marketing stuff. There's a collaboration that needs to happen. Maybe you can go into a little bit more about the ideal customer for you as somebody that is maybe collaborative or, some other characteristics of your ideal customer then.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very important. We want to make sure we identify for our customers what is their ideal customer. So for flu schools, I'm always asking like, hey, do you like high school students? Do you want university students? Are you looking for more of the recreational sport pilot people? You looking for zero to hero, airline focused people? Because that really determines the messaging, that's in there. And for us, we've kind of I'd like to think we've done a decent job with our messaging, maybe needs a better improvement. But yeah, I mean, starting off, we do focus primarily on flight schools, which are academies or flight training centers, ab initio programs. That's kind of our main bread and butter there. We have a few FBOs that we've worked with. We have a few maintenance shops as well, that we do that on the side, but primarily because they also own a flight school. So we've done the flight school portion, and that's, hey, we have a maintenance. Can you do some maintenance marketing? I'm like, yeah, sure. We can get a website up. We can do some SEO, some light SEO for you. But then kind of going to us, like, who is our ideal customer for Right Rudder Marketing? One, yeah, flight school. Two, I'd like to say that you know we've worked with schools that are just starting out. They might have one plane, two planes. A lot of times at that level, we're probably not the best fit. I would
So
say
the sweet
because
spot is a little
it's this
bigger. Yeah.
yeah, we look for maybe sub $1 million in revenue to about $2-3 million is usually our kind of main clientele. When they're just starting out, let's say they have one or two planes, they don't have $1,000 to spend on Google Ads. They don't, let alone pay us a couple $1,000s a month, right? So it usually is a budgetary issue, and I want to support them in any way possible. So we do give them, like, this book here that has everything about what we do, website SEO, all that type of stuff. That way they can do it in house for a little bit to a certain degree. There's CRM stuff. We have a CRM that we give to our customers for free, but also if you're not our customer, you can just use it. I don't know, it's $100 something like that a month. But yeah, I would say something that's a little bigger. Usually around four schools is probably the lowest. I mean, four planes is usually the lowest flight school that we kind of go. Three, four planes. Usually we're looking for around 10, maybe seven to 15 is a very healthy number of planes, because usually they've scaled the business up to a certain point where they've now got over $1 million. They got over the first hump, and we're trying to take them to $2 million or $3 million. And at that point, it's really a matter of marketing, and it's also a matter of scaling your operations too. So make sure you have enough. One of the biggest challenges we've had is we have a school. We brought them to let's say $2 million in revenue, and then they're roughly at what, 200 leads a month, I would say. And then they
Yeah.
say, okay, well, we want to grow bigger, and then we get them all these leads going, we get their ad campaign going, and the next thing you know, I hear from them like a month later, oh, we have a waiting list, and then I say, okay, that's fine. I check back in 3 months. They still have a waiting list. I'm like, so why do you have a waiting list? Why don't you have more planes to like get these people in the door and finish them and get the revenue? And they just haven't invested into scaling their operation. And I think that's also a challenge with any business.
Of course. Yeah,
People,
there's
planes, fuel,
these
operating expense.
yeah.
Me, myself, I've gone through multiple milestones in my business journey where, at a certain point when I hit the milestone, or right before I hit the milestone, I was like, okay, I'm very comfortable. I have a decent amount of take home pay. I'm fine, and the business is healthy. But if I want to grow to another level, I need to put more into the business and invest. So
Improve your
whether that's,
capacity, right. Mhm.
yeah, improve the capacity, whether it's hiring more staff, hiring better software, or using better software, purchasing a plane. So we purchased a plane as well, just for marketing purposes as well. And I mean, there's investments that you have to do. And then when we do those investments, my ratio, my cost of goods, my operating expense, they go out the water. And my financial is like, oh my God, I'm losing money. I'm losing money. I'm losing money. And that happens for about, say 3 to 4 months. I'll be in the, I won't say I've never been in the red since like 2022 is 2023. I've never been in the red, but like I'm getting close to yellow/red. I'm like, okay, we're getting really, my margin is really tight. And then,
Yeah.
but it's because we have increased capacity, we're pushing out more, we're pushing out more content, we're doing more sales, and then
Totally.
eventually it builds back up to a healthy level again. So right now, actually, we put a lot of money in investing. So we bought a plane, we bought more, we hired more people, we have more software that we're using, bought more equipment, cameras, lighting, things like that. Um, and yeah, it hurts.
Yeah,
It
you
hurts a
kind of
lot.
at that top of that arc of spending, and then you gotta get that momentum
Yeah,
going
it's like one
from
of the easy go, "Oh, my margin's really good. Oh, but I'm stuck here, so I gotta take a little hit, and then I go back up." And then
yeah.
eventually you're here again. I go, "Oh, I'm doing really well, but I reached, let's say, 1.5, and now I wanna hit 2 million. Okay, well, I gotta do something. I gotta hire somebody, or I gotta do something, or I gotta, make some changes." So you take a small dip, and then you go back up. I've
Mhm.
never seen a business go linearly where it's like, "Okay, here we are."
Oh, yeah, that's the dream, right?
It's like if
The Alex Hormozy, everything will be perfect from this point forward, and it'll just go like this. Right,
you
and
like
I think
Alex
that's
Hormozy? You follow Alex Hormozy a lot?
we do. Well, we follow everybody. I love, Alex Hormozy. I love, oh, geez, Stephen Covey. I know he's
Oh,
not in
Stephen Covey.
marketing,
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I love Stephen Covey.
yeah, Dan
Yeah.
Kennedy, old school,
This older one, yeah.
right,
I would
the
say
marketing to the
Grant Cardone's
affluent.
kind of a newer one out there, and
Jay
then,
Cardone, there you go. Yep.
there's another one that was there. I don't know. I do follow Alex Hormozy a lot. I did read, all 3 books from him. I would say that more recently, it's a bit more commercialized, but, like, look at his old stuff. Look at, like, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, because that his stuff helped me a lot when I was starting the business, like, solidifying your offer, getting a good price point, understanding the hook, so, for example, like, buyer objection, it's a matter of the risk on their part. So if that case, and this goes for flight schools or aviation businesses, FBOs, like, why wouldn't someone want to work with my company? Is it a time constraint? Is it a money constraint? Is it an effort constraint? So anything that we can do as the vendor or the seller to reduce any of those 3 points, whether we speed up the process, whether we make it cheap, or we deliver really at a high level what the results are, those are the 3 levers to kind of maneuver around. So when I'm talking about flight school, like, don't just go to bottom of barrel, don't lower your price, think about what other services can we offer, what packages do we offer, do we help people get to airlines, do you have connections in the industry to help them, because 'cause they're looking at the risk perspective, like, students that are going into this training, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna dump $80,000 in training," or let's say 50 grand on training, I don't know, even less. What guarantee do I have to actually get a job? That's probably the number one issue right now in our market, at least in the flight school market, is, and why can't we get any more student pilots that want to do zero to hero, is because their perception of the industry, at least in the public facing expense, is that, like, because of last year, because of all these CFIs that haven't been able to get a job because they got their 1,200 or 1,500 hours, they're held back. The perception from people that are interested is like, oh, if I pursue this, I'm not going to be able to get a job either. But
Yeah,
that's entirely false. So,
right.
unfortunately, yeah, the last year the hiring did slow down. There really What happened was everyone got used to the 2022, 2023, 2024 maybe level of hiring where people were just getting hired off, like, yeah, 2 legs and feet, 1,500 hours. Oh, Southwest.
You're in, right. Mhm.
That's not realistic though. I remember because I was part of that cohort. I was part of that cohort doing, flying around. A lot, everyone that I'm flying with, they're already in the majors. Then I have someone else that flew with me towards like 2023 ish time period. He just got his regional CJO. So it's like there's differences in the time period, but you can't expect what we saw in 2022 to happen in 2026, 2027.
Yeah,
The best time to start is now. Get your hours, and by the time you finish your hours, the cycle is already reset. They'll be hiring. You'll get the job. I mean, you'll get.
yeah,
It's the problem is the perception. A lot of people posting on Reddit. A lot of people posting on Instagram. Oh, I can't get a job. I'm a CFI. Oh, I can't do anything. It's like,
yeah.
okay, well, that's probably not. It's I
It's
get
like
where they're
any
coming
other
from
kind
'cause
of investing. You want
yeah,
to buy low and sell high, and so, when the market's on a high and everybody's getting hired, that's the worst time to get into flight school because, it's gonna take you a little bit of time to get there, and by that time, the cycle will be the other
it's on the
direction.
low end. It's on the
Now's the
low end.
best time, right?
Right.
It's like Warren Buffett, you wanna buy when people are complaining about a company, that's the time to buy them
Yeah,
because they're gonna fix the problem,
yeah.
and, then
Yeah.
you
This
were
is the
able to
best
get a good.
time to start flight training. If you have not yet started flight training, you should do it now because, like, right, because by the time you finish your, 1,500 hours, they're gonna open the hiring back up. They're gonna get a job. I mean, and they're gonna get paid really well. I mean, regional officers, when I first was even looking at it, well, this is like before Right Rudder Marketing, before I was, I had always considered the airline route. I remember, like, I had always told myself no. This is back in, like, 2017, 2015. And the reason was because regional pilots would only get paid 30 grand a year. And here I was working a corporate job making 6 figures. Why in the world would I go fly for a regional airline for one third of my salary? know, and put a whole year's worth of salary into it just to get trained. I said, no, these guys are really super lucky because they do get a CJO. They're almost, I think the first year they're almost like 75, 100 grand just off the bat. I mean, it's insane.
Mhm.
Like that was not a thing when I was, in college. That was not a thing like 10 years ago. So they're very blessed to where they are. And part of people say, hey, we got to build the 1,500 hours or you got to take it away. I mean, it's kind of a controversial topic. I personally, as a pilot, would like it to be removed, but then also I look at the airline people that have gone through it, maybe it's for the better because now you can command a higher salary, you know? So
Yeah.
there's two sides of the coin.
Okay, that's great, and I know, we could probably talk forever because I can tell that we have a lot of, I guess, common, threads and things like that between our businesses and everything else. Let me ask you this, and, this may be the last, big question I wanna to talk about for today is, how do you feel about using a podcast to promote your business? Is it working for you? Would you recommend, given everything that you've learned and given all of the things that have changed in technology and, would people be better off doing crazy AI, whatever, or do, podcasts still work? Would you recommend it as a marketing venue now for an aviation company?
You know, no one knows what's gonna work until you try, and then you land on a certain channel. So we've tried all of them. I mean, we've tried ads, we've tried SEO, we tried, Google ads, we've tried social media for a bit, webinars, podcasts, events, in-person events. I mean, we do it all. I mean, I don't think that every channel that we try to work with, we try to put enough energy into it to make it worth it and get some return out of it. I would say the podcast slash webinar route is probably the most easiest way to market your business because it starts off to be free. I mean, obviously we have nice microphones, nice camera over there.
Mhm,
I have a cameraman over here to my left. You don't need that. I mean, when I first started, I didn't have any of this stuff. It's a good way to at least start the content creation engine,
mhm,
because you create, if you have a podcast, it's like what, 30 minutes to an hour long, maybe 2 hours long. You're having this conversation. First off, that one video or audio clip right there, that itself is one piece of content. From there, you can distill that down into a blog post. Okay, that's a set or a web page. Whether it's like, hey, a podcast announcement or webinar announcement, that's itself another like blog post. You can then put another blog post or another like Google Business Update on like, hey, the topics you talked about on that webinar or on that podcast. So it's already three different like or three to four different like channels, content pieces just from one take. And then
mhm,
from there, you take the same long form video. You can use AI if you like. You can then cut it up into shorts. So from one 50-minute video, we can easily create 5 to 10 content pieces. You syndicate it into say 4 different platforms. So you have let's say 10. So 10, you have 10 shorts for that one video. You have 4 different channels. You have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I don't know, TikTok. So five. You have
mhm,
five times, I don't know, 10. That's 50 different pieces of content you've just syndicated from one webinar or from
clip.
one podcast. It's like it's
Yeah,
the easiest route to go. It's relatively cheap to start. Well, I love it. I mean, I think it's not our I don't think it's my main marketing squeeze per se. I think the in-person stuff is probably our biggest
okay.
expense and also the highest return. But I think it's what any business out there, whether you're a flight school, whether you're an FBO, start making content. And going on record with a podcast and having a guest is relatively easy because you don't have to have a script.
Mhm,
These days we're filming, we have the nice camera out, and they have me reading a script. I'm like, this feels so unnatural, you know.
right?
But yes, you're just talking to somebody. You're just talking to
Yeah,
somebody, then you're getting some good content out of it already. So
yeah.
yes, please start a podcast.
Okay, and I think it's a nice antidote to the AI slop, that people see every day of, just generated content. Having a conversation is a very real thing and a very genuine sort of a thing and very believable as well. When you're actually having a real conversation with a real human being, there's something to that that can't be faked as much as they
Right.
try. That's a lot harder to do the fakes of. I'll tell you, our top generators of clients right now, website, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course um, the podcast generates content for all of those things. So it's
Right.
the content feeder to a lot of our primary channels. But I'll ask you. I mean, this is a B2B market, so it's probably different than your top three. But I don't know if you'd care to share, or if that's secret sauce that you don't want to your top 3 revenue generators as far as marketing
Oh,
goes.
as far as marketing goes, I mean, it depends. So for Right Rudder Marketing itself, we're an agency, which is
Mhm.
B2B technically.
Yeah.
It's the webinars podcast is probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Trade shows is probably the second biggest one. And then unfortunately, outbound cold is probably
Oh,
the third one.
wow!
Yeah,
You're
so,
right.
we do a lot of we have people on the phone, we try to reach out every other day to prospects. We probably talked to every single school out there at least once. I don't know if we've
Mhm.
done it consistently. We have a we have, like, a targeted list of, let's say, 100 schools that, "Hey, they are not our clients, we really wanna work with these guys," and we follow up consistently. But
Yeah.
besides that, there's another campaign where we just call almost every school, just have a conversation, see if it's worth even talking about it, then we revisit in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, whatever. But yeah, I would say our outbound channel is, it's not really marketing, it's more of a sales thing, but that's probably the biggest, those 3 are probably the
Revenue
biggest revenue
generators.
generators. Yeah.
Right.
Now for the B2C side of it, I would say SEO is probably the biggest part of it, just
Okay.
because people are looking it up, so SEO/AEO, GEO, whatever AI search, but yeah, showing up
Mm.
on search engines, whether it's AI or Google or Bing, is probably number 1. I think number
Okay.
2 after that is your, ads, so making sure you have a good ad campaign, and then 3 is your retargeting/nurture sequences. So, especially for our market and our industry, we're asking people to spend anywhere from 15 grand for private to, 50 to 80 grand to hold, pilot 0 to hero credentials, private instrument commercial, CFI. That's a lot to ask from for somebody that's not a business owner. That's like, $10,000 is a big ask for anybody. That's a car.
Right.
So would I rather be a pilot or rather have a car? I don't know.
Or a
Sometimes people say
really
I'm not have the
nice computer setup, yeah.
car. So the nurturing sequence, the retargeting stuff has to be done, because it's a longer sales cycle. I mean, we'll have students come in the door that have known about our school for over a year, 2 years, haven't pulled the trigger on getting their private pilot or anything yet, but they've been on their mailing list. We've sent them ads consistently over the past few years, and finally, after they had enough finance, backing, they've saved up for 6 months to a year. They finally call us and like, hey, I want to start my pilot training tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Like, so you can't just, give up on them after, a year. You have to just keep going. It's the SEO, paid ads, and then also retargeting, nurturing,
Okay.
CRM stuff, all that type of stuff is how you get
And
them.
when you say paid ads, you mean digital, right? Or do you mean, uh, print or local or anything else?
Oh yeah, primarily digital.
Okay.
I would say for our market. So if you're a flight school,
Yeah.
where are your customers coming from? Is there a golf course or something that you can put it in? Maybe, I
Mm.
don't
Some
know.
geographical
Yeah, it's not.
circle you can draw. Yeah.
There we do have one school, they didn't do print ads, but they did get recognized as, like, the number 1 aviation center or flight school in their area, and it was, like, a local business directory, so that's another, like, option too. I like that they gave, like, a small award to them, then we kinda did a press release, we did, photos, then we added on their website, so it looks really authoritative. But yeah,
Nice. Photo
just
ops.
go to the fundamentals,
Yeah.
SEO website, paid ads, and retargeting.
Gotcha. Excellent. So, if you are a flight school and you are in need of Tim's services, what should you do?
Oh, yeah, give us a call, 314-804-1200. Check out rightruddermarketing.com or info@rightruddermarketing.com, and we are here to help you. Join our mailing list. Come on our show. We have a show too. Come on
Yeah,
our show.
absolutely.
Join the community. Oh, join our Facebook groups. We just started a Facebook group yesterday. It's called
Oh,
the Flight
congratulations.
School Owners Lounge. So come
Mm.
hop in, have a conversation. It's just started, so there's nothing going on yet. But we want to post events. We want to have vendors go in there. You're looking for another maintenance guy to do your avionics. We have a guy. So
Nice.
join our Facebook group and check be a part of the community.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll have to have another conversation at some point in the future about building communities of your clients and the infrastructure and the ecosystem of flight schools and the attendant organizations and things. So, thank you for spending some time with us today, and we really look forward to having other conversations in the future about different topics in aviation marketing.
Definitely. Thanks, Paula, for having me on. Yeah, I mean, we've been following you for a while. You were kind of I had an eye on you because I first started the business. Like, this is the only competitor I had to deal with. It's worked out really well.
We're so
So it
scary. No,
worked out
actually,
really
yeah,
well. I mean,
I'm happy to refer business back and forth when something makes more sense. If I was looking for, marketing solutions for a flight school that needed exactly what you offer, I would have no problem with.
oh yeah. Yeah, we don't yeah, as I said, our bread and butter is not FBOs, maintenance shops. If, we have the need for it or we get in contact with someone that has the need for that, you're definitely top of mind. I mean, you're probably there's a few other ones that came out and that I've done from research, like off the ground marketing and some other stuff, but I don't think anyone's as prominent as probably me and you in the space.
Mhm.
I would say, I don't
Right.
know. Maybe I'm misguided.
The dynamic duo in aviation marketing, B2C, B2B.
There you
Love
go.
it. Okay. Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll serve the industry really, really well and take it to the next level in the next, several centuries and take things where they need to go. Thank you so much.